Hello. Let's see. Whoops, I forgot to get me a cold Coke. I just spent 2 hours or longer going through the Google, I'm not sure what you'd call it, the the billing and the payment systems. I guess that's what. I'm not a CPA. I don't know what it is, but 2 hours or longer today. Now I've gone through. That's just for because I just discovered a day or two ago. I haven't received any money. I don't think ever from Google, and Google owns YouTube. I've received money, a small amount of money from Amazon. Who else? Well, donations occasionally. Um, but finally, I just figured that I didn't make enough money, for them to pay me. And but then I got. How did I come across that? For some reason, I came across it, or it was sent to me. I don't think it was sent to me, a notice or something. Must have been something for me to click on for Amazon, for Google. And it shows that they owe me $266. And then there were, I can't get back to that, by the way. Oh, should have bookmarked that bookmark, right? And then it showed that there was amounts for various things, smaller amounts. And I think that the $266 is the sum of those added together. But I didn't have time to. I was just trying to figure out what was going on and what I needed to do to actually have them actually send me the money. I think on the 21st and the 26th or something like that, Google sends out money. I may be wrong about that. I don't know how I came up with those numbers. I think I saw it someplace online or something. So then when I saw that they owed me $266, which, keep in mind, I've been online. I was one of the first people when they started, 2005 or whenever it was. I was streaming video and doing all kinds of stuff years before that, and up until that time, and whatever. So I realized that. Well, then I found someplace in the last week. I think I've been actually messing with this. That I was missing something that they needed. And what was it? Well, my account, to be connected to Google AdSense. And also what I found out is, which I guess is, they're probably a very efficient, they're, but they've got if I wanted to run some ads for a t-shirt or something or other, I would need an account with Google AdSense in order to sell that. And then the other thing is, when I get views or whatever it is there, or donations or whatever it is, that goes into this system. And they're interconnected and using the same numbers for accounts and stuff like that. So anyway, I spent 2 hours trying to correct, and I have been spending that kind of time for days. Now, I'm not sure. I think I may have signed up as a seller who wants to advertise on on Google Places or something. So, God, I hope that they don't uh, start charging me if maybe I hope they don't think I signed up for a $1 million advertising campaign selling Google hats or something. So that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I don't think I'd have a problem though, because they're not going to get $1 million out of my bank because I don't have $100 in my bank. When I pay the rent and the other, the electricity and the cable bill and all that kind of stuff, when I get my Social Security check once a year, the ex-wife, she gets a smaller one, about half of what I get. And when we put our money together to try to pay things, there's not much left in my bank account. And if you're thinking savings account, I would have to come back and say, what is a savings account? So, anyway, I hope that the problem has been fixed, because if I started getting money, and I wonder if they owe me more than $266, but I'm guessing not. Maybe that's the first time that I generated any. I don't think so. No, I don't know. So, so what else is new? I'm sure you're tired of hearing about that. I'm tired of hearing about it. I have moved things around in this room. Well, every time you probably see a video from me, I'm talking about that I moved stuff around in this room. I think I've made some improvements, and I think I'm getting close to getting things set up the way that'll help me out. And because right now, as I've mentioned repeatedly to you, every time I want to find something that I need, usually I have to go through boxes and everything and pile it on my bed and then find the item and then put the stuff away before I can go to bed, so I have room to sleep. So, let me think. Okay, what else is new? I hear my son is asking the computer questions in the background. Not sure if you can hear that or not. I hope you can't. He's been fairly quiet, but now that I'm trying to make a video, it's not so quiet. Looks like my cameras are working on both computers. This is the Dell computer over here, and this is the B-Link computer over here. I guess I'm going to bring this to a conclusion. I know, a 10-minute video for me. It's maybe I've had a stroke or something. Maybe I've got Alzheimer's. My mother had Alzheimer's, but we lucked out. Hillary moved in and helped take care of her. And Hillary is one of our daughters. And the other thing was, she had been staying in her mobile home 100% of the time. She wasn't getting out at all. And so when the Alzheimer's hit, she continued to live. She didn't try to go taking off the way a lot of them do. And then too, when we got her on the program with the nurses that take care of people who are in that kind of a condition, and they came out and evaluated everything and wrote down everything they needed to write down, who should be notified on her death, and just all that type of stuff. They took care of everything. And they only had to come out, I think, 2 or 3 times. And then, and she she wasn't having any pain or complaint. The only thing she complained about was, and that's the way, well, 2 or 3 ways, all of a sudden I figured out that she had Alzheimer's. One was, well, she watched television all the time. And she stopped watching TV. And that was unusual. And then I asked her, and she said that Mrs. Reagan was saying bad things to her and calling her names and stuff like that. And then right about that time was Thanksgiving, and Hillary and her made Thanksgiving dinner. And several of us went over there. And I never called I've told you this before. My parents I called Jim and Betty, you know. But anyway, Betty, my mother, asked, who is he? Is that my son or is that my husband? And then I knew, and two, the fact that she liked to eat. Well, she liked to drink too. The neighbors, although I only lived a block or 2 away, but the neighbors would, when they went to the grocery store, they would pick up some alcohol for her. I mean, she paid them, So she was having highballs all along, and but she anyway. Now she went in the hospital a few times, same hospital that I was working at, security, and the social service worker, when she was in both times, called me over and said, Jim, your mother needs to go into hospice care or something like that. And I said, and she says, you won't be able to take her home. She's, combative and that type of stuff. Of course, I never saw her combative. And I said, no, she'll be okay. So I took her home and she was okay. And until it came up, of Mrs. Reagan was talking to her, and then when she didn't know who I was, but even then, she didn't need to go into hospice care because Hillary was taking care of her. But I'll mention this. Anyway, for the first time she had some pain, and Hillary and my mother-in-law were there, kind of watching over. And so they called the hospice, care nurse, and they brought out some pain medication. And, Hillary gave her the pain medication. And then almost right away, my mother died. So they called me. And let's see. Like I said, I lived about a block away. So I went over and checked to make sure she was deceased. And I was trained as an EMT also, in addition to being a hospital security officer. And so I called, which was the way it was supposed to be handled. I didn't need to call 911 or the police or an ambulance. What you did is you called the hospice care, and then they would notify the funeral home, and or maybe I called the funeral home. I think I called the funeral home, yeah. And so I called the funeral home. Then I went back. I think that's before cell phones, by the way, yeah. So I went back, or I had to call. I must have called. Anyway, there was just a few minutes. I called the funeral home and informed them, and okay, she's on hospice care and everything's filled out, and she had prepaid for her entire funeral. Everything was taken care of, She paid for that, one of those plans, everything was all taken care of. But for some reason, they tried to call back. Maybe they had a question for me, and I was apparently in between the places where there was a telephone. And so then they called 911. And I don't think they had 911 then. Whatever they had, uh, they called the police. Well, it just turned out in this small town that a few blocks away, somebody drove by a house, and you know how maybe they don't do that so much now, but there were some shells out on the driveway. Oh, would you grab me one, James?
All right. He doesn't like red.
So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, there were some of these shells. You know, a lot of people would put. I don't think that maybe they don't do that anymore. Also, you know, the shells, you know, that were not active. You know, that were empty or whatever at the end of the driveway or something like that. And somebody called about that, and police, fire, bomb squad, everybody responded to that. So then they got there and they saw, oh, no, this isn't. You know, these aren't active or whatever. You know, they're just decorations. And then, of course, a call came in, you know, dead body at, you know, 32 Canada Drive or whatever. And so then I hear sirens coming. And then see. So I heard all the sirens coming. I thought, oh God, don't tell me that, because I didn't know that they had tried to call, and I didn't exactly at that point know exactly what went on. And so then the first police officer showed up, and you know, the local place, and that's the hospital. I worked at the hospital there at the local town, and he was very gung-ho, the nurses there made some derogatory remarks, you know, about him. I forget the nickname they had for him. He showed up, and so when he came to the door and everything, I said, my mother passed away, but we were signed up for hospice care, you know, and he didn't care. And I said, you know, for hospice care, when everything is arranged, and the procedure is, you know, and I'm a police, I forget what he said, you know, he was being, you know. So I said, well, could you do me a favor? I could hear the sirens coming. Detectives, because they showed up for that thing, you know, other officers, and ambulance, and who else? I don't know. Anyway, I said, could you at least call on the radio and tell them they don't need to respond code 3, that they can just come at normal speed? No, I can't do it, you know. We have to respond on every dead body. And I said, no, you don't. I said, 40 people died it was a couple blocks away, the hospital I worked at. I said, last year 40 people died there. And I said, you may have come 4 or 5 times when somebody came in and was dead in the emergency room, but you didn't come on the other 35 people. I said, what about Beautiful Savior's nursing home? How many people do you think died there last year? You didn't respond to any of those, you know. So anyway, then the paramedics got there. They were real nice and everything. And I said, go ahead, and if you want to check or whatever, go ahead and check, you know. So now, thank God they didn't go in there and then my mother wake up or something. And what are you doing here? Then they'd been telling stories about me. But then, of course, I also had called the nurse for hospice care, and she said, I'll be right there. Well, that's before, you know, I called her, and then so then she shows up, and she says, what is going on here? And I said, I guess I told her, well, what happened. This isn't supposed to happen. This isn't the way this is supposed to happen. We've got it set up, and I said, yeah. And then I heard the helicopter coming. Okay, like I said, I worked at the hospital. And, so I knew that they were coming not for this, not for my mother, but they were coming probably to transfer a patient from Research Belton Hospital down to Research Medical Center. And she said, oh, they're not coming here, are they? And I said, yep, they are. And she said, oh, no. And I said, okay, I'm kidding. They're heading to the hospital. I'm sure to, So that was my mother going. But we were really lucky because working hospital security, we had to deal a lot with, hospice or with patients that were dying and stuff like that. And you'd have, we saw everything, families arguing with each other. The person died and they're arguing with each other about who's going to get, the favorite chair, or, who gets the big screen TV, or, I had actually, not at that hospital, but at a hospital where there was like 6 floors, I heard screaming and hollering. I was on the ground floor. And it was in the stairwell of the 6th floor. The family was out there arguing. Their mother or whoever, what relationship had just passed away. And they were arguing over money and that type of stuff. And one of them was a doctor. Now, he wasn't on our staff or anything like that, but they were not. So I went up there, I ran up the stairs, which wasn't too smart. I could have waited for an elevator. But I ran up the stairs. By the time I got to the top of the stairs, remember, I was loaded down, collapsible baton, that would have been, at that point, .38 revolver. We hadn't gone to autos yet then. Anyway, loaded down, climbed up the stairs, got up there, could hardly talk, and then that was taken care of. And then I was limping around for a week. I didn't miss any work, but I had cracked a bone in my foot going up those stairs, and it didn't show up in the x-ray that they did, but the doctor said, yeah, you've got to, and so I was walking around limping for, a week or so. Anyway, how did I get on that subject? Guess that's it. Story time is over. Somehow I wish that I did not put these stories with other stories, and also some of this stuff has been talked about several times. Of course, you're not watching all 1,200 or whatever of my videos, so I guess maybe it's new to you. But be better. And if I did put them in a category someplace, you probably wouldn't even watch them, so I'm forcing you to have to hear my stories. Anyway, thank you very much. Click on a link if you can or something. The link, I think I want to put it a couple places. Maybe I'll try to put it on here someplace because it's a good deal. Grammarly, a spelling checker. It's excellent. I've been using it for years. I pay by the year. And they have a special, I think it's those of us who have, like myself, Grammarly, we can I think it's 20 or 10, I can't remember which, people a month free, totally free. And there's no high pressure or anything like that of using Grammarly. And when you do that, when you sign up for it, you get a month's free. And the people like myself who you use their link, we get 1 month that we don't have to pay, for. So I can't remember. It's 10. One person has signed up so far. I get an email when somebody signs up, just so I know. And so far, one person has taken advantage of it. And it's really, even just 1 month is great. And just wait till you see, you may want to go with, I think they have lesser plans, but the premium is the top one. And I think it's about 120 a month, 120 a year. Anyway, if I can find the link, I'll try to put it below here. Because it's really not costing you anything. They're not going to pull any of the shenanigans that you just have to sign up for it and then they know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.